Thank you, Stephen, and good morning. Okay, so welcome to this brief overview of how the operational changes happening at the Commission, of the operational changes happening at the Commission, and how they will affect industry. Specifically today, I will be concentrating on our digital ambitions, but I also intend to reflect on why we're doing this and the progress to date. This presentation will be split into three sections. Firstly, risk-based supervision, really at the very core of why we're doing this. Secondly, online personal questionnaires, something that's happening right now. And finally, we'll touch on online submissions, the stuff that's coming in the very near future. So what are we doing, and how does it all fit together? Under something we call Sentinel. So what is Sentinel? Well, it's a 3.5-year transformation program to optimize our regulatory and supervisory capabilities. The goal is to deliver a modern, resilient organization capable of continuing to provide consistent and effective regulation. And we're currently just over halfway. So how do we do this? By introducing a regulatory methodology, which we call risk-based supervision and known as risk-based supervision, which is a unified and much more systematic risk-based framework. Details of the methodology and the framework are covered in other presentations today. And it's very much in line with how we, like other modern regulators around the world, are organizing ourselves to meet our regulatory challenges. Risk-based supervision requires the implementation of a new operating platform, which in our case is something called PRISM. Originally developed at the Central Bank of Ireland, one of our projects under the Sentinel programme was to tailor it to meet our requirements as a smaller regulator. Just touching on PRISM, we began the implementation in May last year, beginning with the insurance and the financial crime divisions. As of the 31st of July this year, all of our regulatory teams are now fully on board and using both the system and the methodology. We also wish to improve our data management infrastructure and ideally achieve something close to a single version of the truth. So we are in the process of building a central data warehouse facility, which will develop alongside our online collection capabilities. We are increasingly mindful of the importance of the data we collect and the way in which we use it, the management information, our regulatory reporting obligations, the indicators and the metrics that we need to collect. So we are building a modern, robust solution. And the focus of this presentation, the development of online services, which collectively are known as submissions. But what we actually mean by that is personal questionnaires, returns, notifications, and applications. I will come back to online personal questionnaires in a moment, but the data we collect electronically from the other submission categories is essential for the key risk indicators and the impact metrics which underpin the PRISM system. This data will begin to feed into PRISM towards the end of the summer 2015 and will mark the completion of phase 2, the final phase of the operating platform. So how do we do this? Well, we treat it the same as we treat any other project or program by first understanding the requirements, the business challenges, and really defining what success looks like. And that has hopefully been outlined in the previous slide. Secondly, we engage with industry, and we have established a Sentinel working party with GIBA and other industry representatives to ensure that what we are doing works for everyone. We will always have to make compromises, particularly given the diversity of financial services in the island, but regular and open dialogue is essential. Regarding online PQs in particular, I have to say that engagement with industry has proven to be very successful. We ran pilot testing with small control groups over the summer, and we now have around 65 individuals and their respective firms involved in conducting a pilot launch, submitting live personal questionnaires that are successfully being processed by our authorizations unit. This soft launch approach has been a really valuable lessons learned. and something we intend to continue as further online activity is rolled out. And we prioritise the work. After personal questionnaires comes licensee submissions. There are currently around 150 different types of submissions on our list, but we have ploughed through them all with the intention of consolidating this down to a more manageable number. We have made good progress in this area, and we know which forms will go online first, on the basis of the biggest wins for everyone, especially the data we need to collect for impact metrics and risk indicators. We don't necessarily intend for every submission to become an online form, and will determine whether the investment is worthwhile depending on the amount of development work versus the benefit. Moving back to online personal questionnaires. Last year, I said that we would keep things simple and clear. And here it is. Things you need to know about the new online service. Anyone can register on the portal, which is particularly useful if those in prescribed positions wish to delegate some of the completion process to a third party, such as your compliance department, your assistant, your PA, etc. However, those actually submitting a personal questionnaire are required to follow the guidance to complete and physically post a signed agreement to use the service. Once we receive this, the submit button will be activated and you will be able to submit those personal questionnaires. Personal declarations, or Form PD, which is essentially a means of updating your personal questionnaire, will no longer be necessary, as individuals will, once they've completed their first electronic PQ, simply be able to log back in and update their record. The bad news is that all individuals will be required to complete a new electronic PQ, as we are not migrating legacy data across. Some may wish to complete this for no other reason than wanting to use the new service, and that is absolutely fine and very much welcomed. Although please bear in mind that this type of submission will not be treated as a priority. Everyone else will be required to complete a new PQ at the point where they would have sent in a PD, or if they are new to the Commission. If you are already known to the Commission, to make life a little easier, we do not require the completion of historic appointments, only the current ones, as we already have the others on record. Also, if an individual has forgotten to keep their PQ completely up to date, please let us know via email when submitting the new PQ, as it will save a lot of time in processing. Forms 28A and other notification requirements under the relevant laws have also been replaced by the use of the online portal. Licensees will be notified of their registration details by letter so that they can meet their respective obligations. Just touching on the background behind this, all the way through the portal, there are lots of tips and guidance, as well as a how-to section and FAQ section, which also includes some videos, etc. So hopefully we've made it as easy to use as we possibly can. But the key message here is that the pilot launch has gone well, we're very pleased, and we intend to replace the paper form by the 19th of January next year. Anyone who is in the middle of a submission will not be expected to recomplete a PQ. We don't expect you to start again. There will be more information and additional guidance to follow over the coming weeks. If you want to take a look, you can do so right now, and feel free to register at online.gfsc.gg. But please don't attempt to send in your agreements if you're in a prescribed position until after the 19th of January. And so to the online submissions project. One of the biggest challenges for online engagement with licensees, as opposed to individuals, is getting the permissions right. The finance sector in Guernsey is hugely diverse, but we all have to be able to accommodate everyone, regardless of size and sophistication. Therefore, as part of the foundation work, we have set the following guiding principles. Whilst they are fairly self-explanatory, I think I will just linger on them just for a moment, just to walk through them. Number one, We want to keep it simple. We should aim for simple, consistent, and intuitive user experiences. We should avoid getting bogged down in complexity unless it is absolutely essential to the projects. Secondly, we design for the majority. We understand that there is a wide diversity of licensees out there, and to cater for every unique circumstance would be difficult, if not impossible. We should aim for a system that works for everyone, however, we should design for the masses. Thirdly, we strive for straight through. Where there is no legal requirement or material benefit for us to approve or review a submission, we should let it process straight through without manual intervention. We also need to learn to trust our systems more. The quality of the data we collect will be exceptionally high through the use of appropriate validation and automated checking. Responsibility lies with the licensee. The onus of responsibility lies with the licensee to meet their regulatory obligations, but we should not impose rigid processes or restrictions unnecessarily. More of this on the next slide. We will deliver sequentially, so especially with projects like online submissions, a big bang approach would be entirely inappropriate. We know which data elements are a priority, so the relevant forms will be the first to move online. We encourage regular feedback and recognise that our requirements will evolve and we'll learn from the journey. And finally, and I guess probably the most obvious one, but often forgotten, focus on the benefit. It's a useful way of keeping the work in check, as different working groups can often have different conflicting priorities. Returning to the core principle of responsibility lies with the licensee, we are building an online system where the licensee will be expected to set up, maintain, and own user accounts on the portal. Licensees will determine which users can enter information and who can submit that information to the Commission. Licensees will be able to delegate permissions on the portal to third-party firms, but the submissions entered or submitted by the third-party firm will be stored against the licensee record. It's a particularly important message. And finally, where a submission requires sign-off by one or more individuals, particularly in prescribed positions such as the compliance officer, the CFO, etc., it is the responsibility of the licensee to ensure that this is obtained. Ultimately, the message is the same as the one given by Simon Godion in his presentation yesterday. You can give away the task, but not the responsibility. So in summary, over 150 different submission types does not translate into 150 online forms. We are consolidating and mapping the information that we need to collect in the future and building our collection capabilities around this. We are taking an agile approach to the delivery of online services and intend to deliver a flexible solution. Through the use of modern content and forms management tools, the licensee will be in control and able to organise themselves to meet their regulatory obligations in a straightforward and efficient manner. Furthermore, a sizable element of the controls for future enhancements will be managed within our regulatory and operations teams rather than having to constantly seek IT support. Modern online content management tools will empower all of us. And we intend to continue to work closely with industry. During the first quarter of 2015, we will be testing a cross-section of returns and getting feedback from both internal and external users. The Sentinel Working Party really has worked very well, as have our industry testers. We're enormously grateful for their help and wish to carry on in the same vein. Thank you.